Hello there, people of the internet. I have a treat for you guys today. I have me a pair of Mosin Nagants. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're staring at this dashing, handsome young man and you're thinking to yourself, nice pair. But what we're going to talk about with these Mosin Nagants, actually let me give you guys some background story. This right here is a 43 production. Yeah, 43 production, non-refurbished 9130. This one is my go-to rifle whenever I come out to the range. And this one right here is one that I got whenever I was quite a deal younger. Surplus back in the day used to not be very expensive, like at all. And I think I paid like 80 bucks for this Mosin a long time ago. Like, this right here is like a rifle that I had growing up, and I put a lot of ammo through this rifle right here. That being said, well, whenever I say a lot of ammo, I mean a lot of ammo. People don't believe me whenever I tell them I have roughly, I mean, there's no way to really tell how close this approximated number is, but I have roughly about 40,000 rounds of 7.62 x 54 rimmed through this particular Mosin. Back whenever you could get the spam cans of 440 rounds, you'd be able to pick them up for like, hell, I think I paid like $25 per can way back in the day. And I bought easily 800-900 of those. And what I would do every single day after school is I would go home with my, I got like 50 bucks for an allowance per week. And I'd go home with my 440 round spam can. And I would just blast absolutely everything I could with this rifle. I shot so much ammo through this rifle. I spent like, I don't know, 15 years of my life shooting this thing basically daily. I ran this rifle a lot. And like whenever I got off of school, that's just what I did. I went out to the shooting range. Now, whenever I was out at the shooting range firing these 440 spam cans of ammunition, I did not understand that this ammunition was corrosive. So there were times where I would not shoot this rifle for like a week or two at a time. And as a result, the bore in this rifle is unfortunately not good. And what do you do whenever you have a rifle that has a bore that is not good? Well, you counterbore it. And what counterboring is, let me give you guys a good example of this right here. If you take yourself a cartridge and you put it into the muzzle of a rifle that is not counterbored, the cartridge should sit inside of the barrel roughly like that. This right here has a good bore on it, which is why this Mosin is very accurate. However, in a rifle that has been counterbored, whenever you try putting the cartridge in, you get something that looks like that. And I love telling people, just because I've stuck so many rounds through this thing, I'm like, hey, look at how worn out this barrel is. And they're like, oh my God, because they've never heard of what a counterbore is. This Mosin has been counterbored before. And what that is whenever you shoot a lot like I did, or you shoot like corrosive ammunition, or both in my particular case, the end of the barrel, the rifling in the end of the barrel is going to wear out, and eventually gets so worn out that gas escapes unevenly as the projectile leaves the barrel, and that knocks the projectile one way or the other, and you get tumbling rounds, and as a result you get significantly diminished accuracy. Well, to counter that, you just kind of basically take a drill or a reamer or whatever it is that you're going to use to counterbore. I've seen a lot of methods. And you cut out a couple of inches of that rifling, like you basically just take the bit and you drill out that rifling to where you get to good rifling a few inches down into the barrel. And now you don't have uneven spread on your projectile. And you're going to get your accuracy back. And doing this, you don't have to cut off the end of the barrel. You just kind of drill out the inside. It's the equivalency of cutting off the end of the barrel while still keeping the barrel itself. So that right there is what a counterbore is. Now that said, whenever I bought this rifle a long time ago, the rifle was already counterbored, and me firing my corrosive ammunition, not understanding what corrosive ammunition was, like I just didn't understand how corrosive this ammo was. And frankly, I didn't care at that young age. I continued to fire this rifle, and I don't think I cleaned it a single time in the entire time growing up firing this rifle. So, yeah, the bore and barrel of this rifle is basically destroyed. I mean, 40,000 rounds consistently is like a lot. I'll see if I can find a photo on just how messed up this barrel is and how much pitting and whatnot is inside of this barrel. God, I'm gonna have to hunt through a million photos in order to find that. But that being said, this rifle does still shoot. I mean, it still functions. It's a Mosin. I have gotten this rifle so hot and ran so many rounds through it that if you look at the upper handguard here, let me get you guys some sunlight here. If you look at the upper handguard, you can see not only how the finish itself has basically melted and been completely destroyed, but there's places on this rifle where the wood has like darkened because it's actually caught fire. This rifle has been through the ringer whenever it comes to me running it on the range. Hello, other Mosin, how are you doing? But in order for this rifle to be accurate again, I need to counterbore it again. That said, it's accurate enough to probably make shots at, the 40 yards or so that we're at. But if I were to go out to like 100 yards, I wouldn't be hitting my target. So let's just put a couple of rounds. You know what? I've got 4 rounds in my pocket. I'm going to go ahead and do 2 in this Mosin and 2 in the other Mosin. May as well show it some love while it's out here. All right. So this is my extremely shot out counterboard Mosin that basically does not hit anything anymore. Yeah, that round went low. Did you see all the concrete and dust and destruction? That is just because these bullets are not stabilized and they're tumbling as they fly through the air. Let me try that again and see if I can hit the steel. There we go, that one hit the steel. All right, yeah, that will not happen out at farther distances. Like, this is about the maximum range for this Mosin. Okay, I might just replace the barrel entirely in that because I have a lot of rounds through that barrel. And a Mosin's barrel really is not that expensive. And I want to get that Mosin up and going again because that's like my childhood Mosin. That's a family heirloom. That's a memento right there. And then this one right here is just a regular non-refurbished 9130. That is very accurate because I don't have, 40,000 rounds of ammunition through it. All right, it's also a lot smoother than that refurbished one. Man, 7.62 by 54 rimmed is such a hard-hitting round. Holy crap. I forgot I had oil on this Mosin. Here in the state of Florida, we have rust issues, so I have to oil these regularly. And this one right here, I basically don't use because of its lack of accuracy unless I'm coming out to make a video with it. And in this particular case, I'm out here making a video with it. Oh boy, let me just readjust my sights there for steel case tool ammo. I mean, I like it. It's a nice Mosin. I like the stock on it, other than, where it's been burnt and destroyed and scratched up. This was actually in really good shape whenever I had first gotten it, and I regret not treating it better. But hey, I mean, kid growing up, $80 rifle, very cheap ammo. I definitely got my fair use out of this thing. I have definitely, absolutely used this Mosin way more than like the original soldiers had whenever they had this Mosin in the Second World War. So I don't know what the stories are behind this thing before I got it, but man, I have 1,000,001 stories with this rifle whenever I had gotten it. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you guys a couple of them just for entertainment's sake. I remember one time, me and my friend, I had this Mosin, he had a shotgun, we had clay pigeons, and versus just like throwing them just for fun, what we did was we actually set them in water. We had a pond that was on our property at the time, and we would set them in water, and I'd take my Mosin and I'd shoot the water, and the explosive force from the Mosin would throw the pigeon into the air whenever it hit the water. And whenever it went flying into the air, my buddy would take the shotgun and he'd shoot it. And man, that was entertainment right there. I remember way back in the day, back before like this Mosin was completely destroyed from corrosive ammunition, Way back in the day, this Mosin was so accurate, what I would do is after I shot a spent casing, well, let me find one here. After I shot the Mosin, I would take a spent casing and I'd actually set it up at about 10 yards. And I'd be able to nail it damn near every time. I'd just sit there, get my sight picture, line it up, and boom, and it would hit. Man, I love this Mosin. I have so many stories behind this Mosin. I have taken this through the woods so many times. I have shot this so much on my old gun range. I know that you guys have seen the car down there, and the car is like basically destroyed. Well, I remember growing up, there was one time where we did a demolition job and we had to tear down a house. And the house was so stable that we actually had a tow truck with wire cables, and we used the tow truck with wire cables to rip the house in half, and it was still standing. Well, I was like, I want to destroy that house. So we actually loaded half of the house onto a tow truck, and we towed it back to my house, and we put it on my gun range, and I basically blew it into nothing with this Mosin. I spent a lot of years shooting that into nothing. I actually have a piece of that house in a little time capsule memorabilia container that I keep, just because, well, for memory's sake, that was just such a big part of growing up, such a big part of my childhood. Anyway, folks, thanks for watching. Hopefully this answered your questions. If you did not know what the counterbore on a rifle was, hopefully this did somebody some good somewhere, and I definitely had fun making this video. I like shooting this Mosin. Of course, it's just not very accurate. Growing up, I don't know, for a long time after this Mosin had lost its accuracy due to corrosive ammunition, I was thinking that I was just a terrible shot because I couldn't shoot past 40 yards and I'd never hit my target. Well, back then I didn't think that bullet tumbling even existed. It just never occurred to me. I'm definitely way more knowledgeable about firearms than I used to be. What the hell was that noise? Maybe it's the headphones. Okay, well, thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description down below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go ahead and go check that out, including Patreon and Utreon if you want to support my work. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. It's chilly outside. I'm going to go get me some hot coffee and warm up. Since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. The poor man's Garen. Shame that bolt action shotguns aren't more mainstream.